say, well, I don't know what to do. It's like, that's okay. Nobody does. Go do something. Do the best thing that you can think of. Put the best plan you have into practice.
Today I'm putting 5 viral Instagram life lessons to the test to see how well John Wick follows Instagram's self-improvement advice and what we can maybe learn from his journey. Lesson 1. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
People think that you should be weak and you should be docile and then you should be a pacifist. He goes, no, you should be a monster. He said you should be a monster, you should be ruthlessly ambitious and then learn how to control it. And it's that old expression, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
In the beginning of the movie, John Wick is exactly what I would describe as a warrior in a garden, so perfectly following this life lesson. While he is a very dangerous man and capable of causing great harm, he chooses to live a peaceful life. So far, John Wick is doing a great job with this life lesson. However, it kind of falls apart once somebody kills his dog. The life lesson is all about being able to use aggression, but never actually using it. And not using aggression isn't exactly what John Wick does for the majority of the movie. But I still think that's one of the main reasons why we like John Wick as a character, because he starts as a warrior in a garden and wants to stay in a garden, but other people pull him back into war and then he unleashes hell. This makes John a very interesting character because when you think about it, most often the protagonist starts off as a gardener in a war, and then throughout the story he grows and learns to become a warrior. So with this unique setup, I think John is one of the few, if not only protagonists that starts off as a warrior in a garden. We don't really admire weak men who need the world to stay peaceful. We admire strong men who could destroy everything, but choose not to. So while John Wick applies this life lesson very well for like the first 30 minutes of the movie, he then kind of misses the mark by actually choosing violence. Life lesson number 2, discipline over motivation.
Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes, and it doesn't matter whether it's there or not. Discipline is infinitely more important. So no matter how you feel, get up and do what you're supposed to do.
This is a life lesson which I think John Wick utilizes extremely well. Throughout the movies, John Wick is described in many ways, but being a very motivated man is not one of them.
It's a man of focus, commitment, sheer will.
He never asks himself if he feels like doing something or if he wants to do something. He also doesn't take over a year to think about what he's gonna do and waits until he feels ready. He sees the necessity for something that he needs to do, and at that same day, he's doing exactly that. Being motivated is simply not a character trait. Motivation is an emotion that comes and goes. John Wick's willpower and discipline is what allows him to do what he thinks he needs to do, regardless of how he feels. I mean, imagine if your wife just died, then your dog died, you fell off the first floor and got stabbed with a broken bottle. How motivated would you feel to do anything? John Wick gets beaten down several times, and one thing I actually love about these movies is that the protagonist actually gets hurt and needs medical attention afterwards. This makes John Wick's actions more realistic, and we see that he's physically just as vulnerable as we are. Yet it doesn't matter how motivated he is, he simply always gets back up. So with this life lesson, I think we can definitely use John Wick as a role model. Yes, he uses the discipline to kill people, but let's kind of ignore that and just focus on the general concept and mindset behind it. So the general mindset is, I think, something that we can all definitely apply to our own life. Lesson 3, cut toxic people out of your life.
When toxic people can't control you, they try to control the people around you. Cut them off.
Yeah, so this is a personal favorite of mine with the John Wick movies because John Wick is definitely very good at cutting toxic people out of his life. Just not maybe in a way that we should use as an example. To be fair, he does at first cut them off by retiring and trying to leave this brutal world behind. It's only once they intrude his life that he chooses violence. But while cutting toxic people off, he does make sure to not cut off everybody that is remotely connected to these toxic people, but does differentiate.
Afraid so, Francis. Why don't you take the night off?
I think this is something that we can learn from John Wick that goes beyond this typical Instagram life lesson, to not just think of entire friend groups that you maybe need to cut off, but actually concentrate on individual people. So just because there's somebody really toxic and he's part of a friend group, you shouldn't like instantly decide to get rid of this entire friend group. So something nice that we can learn from John Wick. It's also funny how fitting the part about toxic people controlling people around is for John Wick. Viggo, the father of the man that killed John Wick's dog, tries to control the people around John Wick by giving them money. In this case, he even wants his past friends to kill John Wick. Which, because he has very good friends, they don't actually do, but that's something for a later life lesson. So while John Wick understands the importance of cutting toxic people out of your life, again, he's just a little too extreme in his execution. Lesson 4, the only thing that's doing the thing is doing the thing.
Preparing to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Scheduling time to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Making a to-do list for the thing isn't doing the thing. Telling people you're going to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Hating on yourself for not doing the thing isn't doing the thing. The only thing that is doing the thing is doing the thing.
Yes, in this case, John Wick's doing the thing is murdering a bunch of people, but let's just take a step back from that and admire the mindset behind it. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but hey, there's a crazy video idea and you clicked on it, so let's do crazy. So if we actually take a step back and look at how John Wick approaches this, I absolutely love that he doesn't tell everyone what he's going to do. Actually, he doesn't tell anyone what he's going to do. He doesn't brag about it or anything, he just acts. John Wick already decided what he wants to do, and when Viggo calls him and tries to solve it peacefully, John Wick doesn't say anything.
What he said. Enough.
Also, when he's at the mechanic even asks him what he's gonna do. John Wick doesn't answer. He now decided for himself what he wants to do, and he doesn't need the reaction, the admiration, the fear, whatever reaction from anybody else. He just keeps it all to himself and just focuses on doing the thing, which I absolutely love John Wick for. I think this is generally one of my favorite life lessons on Instagram about dealing with a world where social media exists, because I think it's a trap that people naturally walk into, but in this social media driven world that we live in nowadays, I think it drastically exaggerates the problem of people always having to tell other people what they're gonna do. Yet when it actually comes to executing, they find excuses. That's why John Wick's style is so refreshing to see and makes you respect the character so much. So for this life lesson, thumbs up to you, John. As I said, yes, he uses that mindset to murder people, so let's not focus on that. Don't take that as a role model, but the general mindset of just doing the thing and not having to worry about telling everybody about it, that's really where you can take John Wick as a role model. Lesson 5, surround yourself with good people.
Surround yourself with people that care about you and not about what you can bring to the table, not about what you can do for them, but people who want to see you smile, people who want to see you enriched. And that doesn't have to be a room full of people. That can be, you can count them on your hands.
The only reason John survives the first movie is because of his connections in the underworld. He has people like Winston who he can ask for advice, and people like Marcus who saves his life not once, but twice in this movie. And coming back to the life lesson of cutting toxic people out of your life, even if these toxic people try to influence the people around you, if these people that you surround yourself with are good people, that simply isn't possible. Illustrated in this case by the fact that Marcus is offered $2 million or something to kill John, and instead he makes sure that nobody else kills him. So John definitely understands the importance of this life lesson and surrounds himself with good people. And in this case, he even takes it a step further by generally valuing and respecting people around him, sometimes even his enemies. Every person he comes across, he addresses by their name, showing them respect, and most often they respect him back.
Good to see you, John.
Charlie.
Evening, John.
Evening, Jimmy.
Hey, John.
Hey, Harry.
So that concludes my little fun adventure of exploring how today's Instagram life lessons apply to John Wick. Were you surprised how many of these life lessons actually applied to this mass murderer John Wick? Feel free to let me know in the comments below how well you think John Wick follows Instagram's self-improvement advice. I personally am giving him a 6 out of 10 because I think he does a lot of things really great and we can oftentimes use him as a role model. He just every so often drifts off into using a tiny bit too much violence. But anyway, that's been it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.